Hey guys, my name is Andrew Demore, and for my informational speech, I'm going to be talking to you guys about concussions. So first thing I want to know is how many of you guys have ever played sports? Alright, yeah, most of us. Makes sense. We all kind of grew up doing that. How many of you guys have ever played a contact sport? Okay, a few more. Has anyone here ever suffered concussion or knows what that is? Okay, so most of us have a general idea. So I'm here to inform you guys on what is a concussion, kind of how they happen, what happens when you get one, just to bring some more light to a concept that is otherwise kind of unknown. So the first thing is a concussion is a serious brain injury. It basically happens when you get hit, head to head in football, or you head a soccer ball too hard, or even if you just fall and whiplash or hit your head on the ground. It's basically your brain is surrounded by liquid inside your skull, and your brain smacks into the front or the back or the sides of your skull, causing bruising. But the one tricky thing is with a concussion is it's invisible. So it's an injury that doesn't show up on an MRI or a CAT scan. It's purely diagnosed through different symptoms that are very telltale. Some of those symptoms include sensitivity to light, nausea, memory loss, range of emotions, dizziness. The list goes on and on. And so as we're learning more and more, they're trying to diagnose more symptoms, and they're training coaches and teachers and parents what to look for as well. A concussion causes the brain tissue to change. So what happens with a concussion is it stretches and bruises the tissue inside the brain, which causes cell damage, and then each concussion after that, the likelihood of getting a repetitive concussion increases every single time. And the CDC is also saying that there's an estimated 3.8 million concussions per year just in the United States alone. So if you think about our population, that doesn't sound like a lot, but for anyone that plays any sport-related activity, recreational activity, 3.8 million is just what goes diagnosed. There's probably another couple million that go undiagnosed just because people don't know or they're not educated on what a concussion is. So this is kind of a few examples of how concussions happen. It's a little funny, but at the same time, a lot of these are examples of what really can happen. So the first one up here is simply just two football players headbutting each other. But the tricky things with concussions is it doesn't have to be a huge hit. There's plenty of subconcussive hits that can cause a concussion that no one would necessarily notice straight away. And football is one of the main sports that brings about concussions and concussion awareness. Over here, this one's a little funny. It's a mom at a basketball game, obviously trying to clap and hitting her baby's head, and it's trying to make light of it, but at the same time, even at a young age, especially a child when your brain's still developing and your skull's soft, even the slightest thing can cause a concussion. And then down here, this final GIF, I don't know if you can tell through the video, but because of that hit, he actually gets knocked unconscious, which tends to happen with concussions if the hit's hard enough, and your body goes rigid. And so when he gets hit, he ends up going backwards. He fumbles the football because his body is blacked out and rigid like a stone. These are just a few of the examples of how it happens, but any sport you could think of: baseball, softball, lacrosse, football, soccer, basketball, even skiing, snowboarding, mountain biking, running, weightlifting, anything like that, comes with an inherent risk of any injury, and concussion just adds another level to that as well. So what did we learn today? The CDC estimates that 1.6 to 3.8 million concussions happen in recreational and sports-related activities each year. And the main age group is between 12 and 23. So it's not like a ton of people in their 40s and 50s are getting concussions. It's a lot of the more active, younger generations that are still in college sports, high school sports, youth sports, even the NFL, into their early 30s that are the main people that are suffering these injuries. And again, a concussion is an invisible injury. It doesn't show up on any scans or anything. It's purely just diagnosed through symptoms, which make them so tricky at the same time. And the next thing can happen anywhere. Like I said, it doesn't just have to be on the sports field. It doesn't have to be anything recreational related. Simply just tripping when you're walking and hitting your head, keep getting concussion, or standing up and hitting something that's above you could be a concussion. And the hard thing is informing those people that don't necessarily play recreational sports or anything that wouldn't know what that is. Because for a lot of people it goes undiagnosed, which is a rising issue as well. And then finally, concussions are different in each person. No concussion is the same. So I have a few concussions in my past through sports. Not a single concussion is the same. It's different symptoms every time. It affects each person. The healing time is different every time. And that's the other thing. If you sprain your wrist, there's not a ton of different ways you can sprain your wrist. But with concussions, it's so different every single time that it just creates confusion, and sometimes it's really hard to diagnose. Anyways, thank you for listening. I hope you guys learned a lot about concussions and what they look like, how they happen. Thank you so much.